That the Ministry of Finance devolved the targets without consulting them. Can I know what you collected last year? What was the NTR collected last year?
Last year?
No, the other year, before the year, before the year of the
financial year 2021-2022.
The other year, Ministry of Finance had set a target of 400 million. And in our collection, we collected also 300 million. And we had also paid to that effect. So this time we complain that Ministry of Finance, instead of setting their target without consulting us, let them consult and we sit together and we agree that this year, this is the same problem we are still having with them, that don't set targets without consulting us. First consult us and then we give you exactly what we shall be able to collect. So that's the reason why we have these discrepancies.
Chair, I asked that question because when you look at what was set, it was 110 million. And last year, you've already said you collected 328. If 329, if what is on page 9 of your responses is to go by. Chair, when you look at page 9. So if you were able to collect 300 million, and the Ministry of Finance sets now a target of 110 million, don't you see that they even set a lower target for you?
Honorable Chair and members, okay, let the head of account talk about it.
Purchasing motor vehicles for our field officers. So by that time, the office of the president had a fleet of vehicles which were very old. As we keep on going, now we had disposed many vehicles. So this coming financial year, we're expecting to dispose of very few vehicles. As a result, we are expecting to realize a little revenue. That's the reason why we were able to set the target low. But the other year, we had so many fleet which was very old. And that's why we were able to realize 329,426,000. Thank you, Chair.
That the 110 million did not perform because they did not conclude the process of boarding off transport equipment and other stores. How much did you realize out of this assignment, the one you carried out in September?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. If I'm allowed, through my accounting office, what million? 462,670 shillings only.
No.
41, this financial.
The question is, in September, because 41, you got it before September, that is around the 30th, around 30th June, year end. But we are saying in September, after completing that process, how much did you realize in that?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. That one may need to give me some time, then I go and compile information such that I give with figures, I don't guess, I give the actual figure, actual position. With your permission, Chair, we will provide the figures later.
For that, really, for that activity. You work alone or you have some people?
Provide. But otherwise, I find your response during the audit period contradicting your response now. Because by close of the audit, while interfacing with the auditors, you said the reason is that they did not consult with you. Now, in your response to us, you are now saying that the NTR was 41 million. That's what we were able to collect because you were not able to complete the boarding off process. This contradicts your earlier reason, which is in the audit report.
That we stated, Honorable Chair, we stated that at the time of the exit meeting, and indeed the consultation with the Minister of Finance wasn't as robust. It wasn't there. But we, at the time of appearance before you, the Honorable Committee, we wanted to bring in an improvement, a corrective measure that has been taken ever since we held the exit meeting.
Yeah, it's not, the Act frustrate everything. You have the figures?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Are they on soft copy?
The figures, yeah, I can send because it is a written report that it is written.
Can you send it now to the clerk?
Of what actually was corrected, we corrected from disposal. It was 164,400,000
For by September.
by September.
So there is no problem with the target that the Minister of Finance gave you. So why were you choosing them?
We are choosing them because
For what?
they set a target of 110 million, and by the time they audited, they found that we have not hit the target. We only collected 41 million. Then for us, we are saying that okay, we collected 41 million because we did not complete the selling of the vehicles we are supposed to be sold.
But the question
And
was,
now, when we sold them, that's the figure we realized.
yes, but for you are complaining that you were arbitrarily given a target by finance which was too high.
Yes.
But then by September,
We collected
you surpassed. So that response is collapses. You didn't do your part in time. Had you done your part in time, you were going to fly with more than 100%. Point to 1.2.
Honorable Chair, on the utilization of warrants, out of the 28 billion availed to the entity, 223.9 billion was utilized, resulting into an unutilized balance of 4.629 billion shillings. Honorable Chair, and this is spread across the three programs that we contribute to: governance and security, community mobilization, development plan implementation. Our explanation for the underutilization is that these resources fall under the items of wage, pension, gratuity, and staff training expenses that were not undertaken during the year under consideration. We're explaining, Honorable Chair and members, that the entity in the year under review had planned to recruit 2 administrative assistants in each of the RDC's offices. However, this process was not concluded on time. And so, actually, the bulk of this 4.6 billion relates to the aspect of wage for these officers that were not
Speak to pension and gratuity.
Okay. So, on the issue of pension and gratuity,
And your failure to pay people's pension and gratuity.
Honorable Chair, on the inability to pay the pensioners, or these were on account of delayed submissions by some of our pensioners who are beyond 75 years of age, to give us, because we usually request of them to avail life certificates such that you do not end up paying people who have passed on. So those that could not avail us those certificates in the year under review, and actually up to date they have not, we did not pay that money. So the other consideration, Honorable Chair, is that there are those other pensioners who pass on in the course of the year.
Pension and gratuities, we are speaking of how much money out of the 4.6?
Okay, let me see. 4.3 billion, Honorable Chair.
So 4.3 billion of the 4.6
Yes.
was for pension and gratuity.
And wage.
No, I just wanted the portion of pension and gratuity. When you are saying you do not recruit, it's understandable, but then I want how much was due for pension and gratuity. Because I find it odd that you can't pay people's pension and gratuity. These are people who have done their due journey in services in the country, and they're out there, you don't pay. And had you are headed there soon. These young guys who refuse to pay you.
Chair, I want to inform the president is very concerned when it comes to paying pension, especially. And where we have some of this money going back, it's not true that we don't take care and we take it back for just because this people. But the problem, one, some of them die. When they die, this money remains lying there when they die. Secondly, as he said, when some of them clock 75 years, mandatory they are supposed to bring us a certificate to show that they are still alive. Failure to give us the certificate, we can't now continue paying unless you come back and tell that you guy, I'm still alive. I'm now 76, I'm still here, start paying me my money. So this is the money which remains, but we don't.
But the challenge is, Haj, is that you are speaking about, that's why I asked of the 4.6, how much are you talking about?
Maybe, Chair, that is a very and sick and cannot come to present a certificate. Which law are you following to enforce that kind of requirement?
Chair, this is not the law of office or regulation from Office of the President. It's a regulation from Ministry of Public Service, which is responsible for managing pensioners. So they are the one who said that. Because, Honorable Jomjen, if we allow every Jack and Tom to continue paying them until until infinite, so there is a threshold that when you reach 75 and you are still alive, you must come back and report yourself that I'm still alive. It's a regulation. It's not our concoction.
So
I'm still alive.
So people above 75 are presumed to.
Chair and members, I want to inform you that myself, I'm now 65. But according to the census, people of my age, 60 to now over 80, we are only 1 million in this country. So imagine, out of 45 million Ugandans, we are only 1 million, which implies that by the time a Ugandan reaches 75, the question of surviving are almost negligible.
No, don't mention the president. We leave presidents out of. Okay.
Yeah, because well, there are other issues. I think the best is for you to list them with the amounts attached to it, the wages, gratuity, because I've also seen delaying renewing the contracts of presidential advisors as part of it. So if you listed who are those, because we have seen cases where presidential advisors are appointed, they are given appointment letters, but they are not paid. So can we have who are these whose contracts were delayed, and have they renewed their contracts now? List them. The two administrative officers for whatever for which districts. I've also seen the rent for Maracha district, RDC's office, as part of this money. So if you could list them and put the amount against each, maybe it would also help us.
Okay, can you even give us, more. Now that Honorable
Chair, we have 139 presidential advisors. Characterized, some are full-time, others are retainers.
Chair, I think he should add so far.
Categorize.
I got that one. It's so far.
100 and what?
Does that include full figure?
Yes.
And the butcherman? It includes full figure and butcherman?
Yes.
Okay.
So it would be good to have that itemized and listed on each.
Can we have
Chair, we are
the other thing, president advisors like the Right Honorable former Vice President, Edward Chiwanuka Sekande, and her likes, we want to find out, is she paid fully as a presidential advisor, and at the same time, does he enjoy all his benefits as a former Vice President, as a former Speaker, and as a former Deputy Speaker?
Chair, I'm going to answer my side, which I know. As a senior presidential advisor, we pay him all his benefits as an advisor. That is a salary, gratuity, 40% of his salary. That's all generally what we pay him. But of course, I know he has other areas where, from Ministry of Public Service, as a former Vice President of the Republic of Uganda. There I wouldn't want to talk about, but personally when he's appointed with a salary, person to holder, and gratuity terms.
Yes.
Well, the PS, does it interest him to ascertain in such scenarios the possibility of somebody getting double or triple entitlements? But yes, from the same consolidated fund, is it something that would be of interest to you? Or you want to leave it to public service or elsewhere?
In fact, Honorable Chair and Honorable Member of Parliament, these prerogatives are prerogative of the HE, the President. As you know, me as the Permanent Secretary and Officer of the President, when it comes to the President, I'm supposed to implement his directives to the letter. So I would think that, Honorable, when one of these days you have a meeting with him, because normally, Park, you get a meeting with him, because you are overlooking the entire, when you get a meeting with him, you request him that, but Your Excellency, how do you have this one as a Vice President, as a former Vice President, and then again as a senior presidential advisor? That's why that me, I'm concerned with his terms and conditions of service, which was communicated to me by the appointing authority.
Because he's not alone. People who are ministers with these other entitlements, we want to interest the country, whether, because in other jurisdictions, you pick whatever is higher. Okay? You could be entitled in the arrangement, but you decide whatever is higher is what you take. But you cannot earn from multiple out of a consolidated fund. That's why you find, much as there is a director of president, you are under care to ensure that that directive is implemented in accordance to the law.
Honorable Chair, it's true what you are saying. It's very true. Because if today I'm a permanent secretary and I'm appointed to another job, maybe as a chairperson of the Public Service Commission, then, or Electoral Commission, I should really leave these salaries and elements which I've been getting here and go on the other one. It's true. But with the issue of former leaders, it's a bit complicated. That's why I said that when you meet at any particular time when you manage to meet the president, because he normally meets PAC committee, you need to bring this one to his attention, that how do we handle this one as PAC?
No, the challenge with it, even with former leaders, while they are serving, they are generously paid. The issue that you were a former leader, you are not on charity. While you serve, you get fairly, adequately paid. And some of our leaders are the highest paid. Therefore, for them to also encroach permanently, to earn from multiple sources, is a little bit morally not right.
Chair, issue again falls back to us, and that's where we need to ask our legal person to look at the laws, because like he has stated, the example you are giving is mainly those who have been political leaders. That's where that situation has been coming. They will have become political leaders and also when they go to the executive members, ministers or vice president. So I think our legal team, maybe there will be a problem with the need to harmonize these laws. Because as you are saying, morally, it's not right, but legally, they seem to be...
No, even illegal, I don't think.
So I think
that
the legal
you can
team,
charge a consolidated
because it
fund.
again comes back to us, the lawmakers, to see how to really bring this to an end or harmonize.
Honorable Asman.
Mr. Chairman, I not be to blame on this matter. But my issue with him, he also has a duty to the country and a duty to the president. For us lawyers, we call ourselves officers of court. You'll find a matter and you'll guide the judge, even if he's the overall. Is it something you have found necessary to provide some advice and guidance to the president, even if it is not really, even if we are making arguments of legality and morality? Does it bother you? Is it something you can say, Your Excellency, if we did this, maybe perhaps we would be saving some resources here and there? Or you want to keep quiet because maybe along the way, you may also find yourself enjoying this. I just wanted to put it to you.
Honorable Chair, you know the president is the fountain of honor. It's in the Constitution. Is the fountain of honor. Now, if he makes an appointment, it would be very indisciplined for a permanent secretary now to start asking him that, Your Excellency, why have you appointed this former leader? It will be indisciplined, and that one I cannot do. Chair, I can.
No, and you're on oath to say you shall give advice and true advice, honest advice at all times. Okay.
Thank the advice of the president on financial matters when it comes to that office. However, I've learned something new on this issue of pension, where you call for an annual... Chair, it is connected to his. Okay. On an annual life certificate. I want to interest himself in the age of the presidential advisors. Because if for pension you call for above 75 an annual life certificate,
yes,
and then we come to your presidential advisors and we have those ones above 75, how I wish you can also call for some certificates of the sort. Yes, to those advisors above 75, but Chair, we find advisors of the president above 75 years. So I want to hear from the permanent secretary. Do you also advise the president that by the age of 35, you are nearly condemned? 75, 75.
Honorable member, through the chair, I want to inform you that others get salaries. They are at work, actually, I would say that. So on monthly basis, they are paid their salaries. But the pension, that one belongs to people who have done their work and have retired, they have gone home. So those people who are 75 at that age, who retired a long time and went home, and they are not employed anywhere. We don't employ them. But this one, we are employing them. And we see them every day. They file whatever they are doing, they file their reports. But the other group is a retired group. It's nowhere to be seen.
Mr.
I can assure you, Honorable, that some retired people, a good number of them, I don't know them. Because I didn't find them even in government when I joined. I just see the name. Oh, this one is...
No, I was just helping you. You know, 75 somebody is condemned. I was helping you to ensure that you get advisors, of presidential advisors that are active and competent enough to advise the president. Now I'm asking you, why do you recruit advisors of the age above 75? No, he advises. So do you also take time to advise the president that above 75 could be this advisor might not be useful enough to serve the country?
Oh, Chair,
thank
you. I stated earlier that this role is a prerogative.
Can the accounting officer take the questions and answer?
Those advisors in those categories and with their remunerations to understand the financial implication of these advisors, I beg to submit, Chair.
Honorable opened in the House about some presidential advisors who were appointed and given appointment letters, but they had never been paid. One of them is the retired Bishop of Bukedi, Bishop Okile. And then there was another one who was passed on from Bunyoro, Colonel William Omare. Are they now, of course, Right Honorable Etiang has passed on, he was part of that. There were 9. We had a list in which we had they say they came to Parliament here, say, we got appointment letters, is now down the road 2 years. Yeah. So can you clarify that whether they are now or they should forget?
Honorable, 26.
Closer to the mic. No, closer, just pull it.
2016. Actually, 2015 in October, that's when they were appointed, 18 of them. Now, at that time, when we calculated their requirements, the 18 advisors and the terms which the president had given them, it was, I think, 18 billion. It was 18 billion. And we went back to him and informed him that we don't have this money in our budget and we cannot operationalize them. He called the permanent secretary, Minister of Finance, Secretary for Treasury. He also informed them that he cannot look for that money. For that matter, he decided that we shall postpone the appointment until another when we get the money. So that's how that grew. But fortunately enough, some of them have been appointed as normal advisors. I take the Colonel Maria is one of them.
Bishop Okile.
There is another person whom I have forgotten from Bunyoro.
In that group that was retired.
Sajira, he was appointed. There are about 10 who are remaining. But still, we are informing the president that let us leave the other terms which he had given, and he appoints them as normal advisors. Because among them there was the Kajuka and others. So we are telling the president, let's give them the salaries we give other advisors, because for them that been given higher money which we didn't have in our budget.
Then you better inform them, because they keep approaching us. You better communicate to them. Otherwise,
Honorable colleagues, in the interest of time, I think we've given this issue just submission of, so that you provide each one of them for us to be able to establish the cost to the country.
Honourable members, thank you. The issue at hand is the outputs.
1(2)(d) of the public finance indicates the funding allocated to each activity. I observed that budgets for 4 outputs provide detailed costing for activities, implies that the costing at output level cannot be justified, and as such, there is a risk that the entity either over or under budgeted for these outputs. That's grave how this is. First of all, you are not following the law. Secondly, there is a risk that we've lost money. So you speak to that.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Honourable Chair, the observation of the audit, all outputs mentioned were supported by individual activity costing and budgets during the budgeting process. The tool enables the vote to cost the inputs for each of the activity during the budgeting process. However, the new tool, which is the PBS, unlike the old one, the output-based budgeting tool, which allowed generation of more comprehensive reports covering activities and unit costs, this room is not available in the PBS mechanism. Honourable Chair, what we are simply saying is that we moved from the output-based budgeting tool to the performance-based budgeting tool.
Let me even stop you there. Because so many agencies have come here and given us that explanation, on a cross-examination, we found it wanting. So don't waste our time giving us that explanation.
Chair.
We have examined it with other agencies. We found it as a very lame excuse. Because even at paper, these,
We now understand
and it's from a hard copy that you import.
Oh, yeah.
And when you interface with the auditors in those management meetings, if you don't have the generated one on the line, you have the hard copy.
Okay.
And that's why you have those exit meetings. So you cannot give that as an excuse. So many agencies have been hiding under that. Not only you who have put it aside with that reasoning alone. That even when you are organizing a birthday party, like you normally do in your offices, like you normally do, I don't want to go into that, in your offices, you cost it. You say there will be butcherman will sing, how much money? Full figure will sing, how much money? There will be a cake, there will be a tent, there will be flowers, there will be everything, chairs, there will be music, there will, at the end of the day you come up with a budget. It is as simple as that.
Oh, yeah.
So how can an agency come here and say, the computer, we didn't do this, So do you have any explanation or we proceed?
Chair, take note of it.
No, it's not taking note of it so
And
lightly.
we shall improve
No.
as you have advised.
No. If you acknowledge, the figure there, 49, the report may be very 47. On writing a report, you may say you made a loss.
But Honorable Chair, through my PS, we had brought a sample
Of what?
of what it
No,
looks
that
like.
one we have dismissed. That one that the computer could not input. Don't give us that.
No. The actual input costing, Honorable Chair.
So you had them,
Yes.
and you did not present them to the auditors.
What happens, Honorable Chair, is that
Okay, procedure.
Chair,
You can receive that one.
accounting officer's response, however, it was not availed evidence of the detailed costing and the budgets that were input in the PBS system. So if they are saying now they are bringing it right now, and yet they had an exit meeting with the auditors, and they didn't avail it to the auditors, it means there is a problem. But Chair, be as it may, this is a very serious matter, because you see, to come up with a budget, a figure to put in the budget, it must have a build-up of costs per activity. Now, if we have 47 billion, which is not costed, how did it end up in the budget in the first place? This one shows a lot of, I don't want to call it negligence, but I think the person who is doing the budgeting is not really being serious about the purpose of budgeting and the importance of budgeting. So, Chair, to me, I think on this issue, as you had earlier said, we should not hide behind the PBS budgeting process and then try to confuse. No, there could be a hidden agenda, because on output number code 003, they are saying facilities management, and it's a lump sum of 34 billion. So maybe we need that breakdown of 34 billion and park that 34 billion for us to understand what could have been. There is patriotism services. What are patriotism services? Maybe those activities which were not clear were the ones which were just dumped in the budget, and then we are here having, a big figure without a breakdown. So, Chairman, if it pleases you, we go further and get the breakdown of these activities.
Actually, you pick it.
No.
No, you have already laid it, sir.
Can
No,
you pass
you
it to
just
us?
pick it, sir.
You again hesitant.
No, you pick it. You have already laid it on table.
Thank you very much, Chair.
But Mr. Chairman, they have to speak on the document they are laying.
By
Which
the
are you
speak for-
carrying?
Speak for this. Yeah, you speak for what is it that you are laying?
Honorable Chair, through my accounting officer, facilities management, that is our development budget, and that is where we acquire transport equipment.
May I give it to Honorable
Through my account
Cooper to
officer,
go through
I wish to lay
and
on
advise
table the
Roland.
detailed unit costing for facilities management, budget item output. And as you can see, there is light vehicles. We have the unit of measure, number, the planned units in Arabic figures 71, and the required funding.
Chair.
When did you,
Chair.
when did you start to use Arabic?
Chair. 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 I
No,
can understand why he
71.
was hesitant to pass. He was wanting to pass it and pass it because this is just a sample. It's not the actual. You are asking him that why did he start using Arabic? So, because when you look,
Because you wanted to indicate
it's like a template.
that there is
Unit
unit costing. So, although the tool does not allow it to print out
This nature of
the
information.
nature of the report,
I
we
don't
had
know,
to take.
excuse me, I don't know whether you understood the chairperson. Because for you to input data to the computer, you must have a source document. Where you'd have done is the hard copy. That's why you pick it from to enter into the computer. That's what we expected you to be having, that hard copy. Say, this was the breakdown, where you now pick this summarized one to input into the system.
They are available and we shall submit.
But you didn't give them the auditors.
But you do not provide that information to the auditors. Okay, we shall give you a benefit of doubt. Give us a breakdown of the, okay?
Yeah.
We give you up to Monday, you'll work over the weekend, and 1.4, who is in charge of planning? In State House? It's you. Okay, how many outputs do you have?
Budget outputs are over 10 budget outputs.
No, not just over how many. Because outputs is what you do every day, over 10. How many, by the way, I'm serious about it.
I think there are only 4 outputs. Because if you read that,
Actually, that's what I was going
it
to
gives
mention.
again the 47 billion, which you had already passed on 1.3. So
Yeah.
they are not different from the outputs on 1.3. Because it gives a total same amount of 43.053 billion. So they are not different, they are only 4. So when it takes about there are more than 10,
Can you
can you
name
list
them?
us those?
Thank you, Chair. It's important to appreciate what we are meaning by budget output.
No, we appreciate that.
Yeah,
Give
but
us
you
the
have
You
10.
mean we are not appreciating?
We are,
It says, no output was not implemented at all. What does that mean?
So we don't want to understand that. We know the output. Tell us. Enumerate the 10 outputs you've talked about.
Honorable Chair, we beg your indulgence because these budget output codes are not ones we can quickly enumerate off cuff.
No.
But we
Budget
can
outputs,
submit
let me tell you, budget outputs for example, for Parliament, I can tell you, legislation is an output. We are measured
Okay.
on how many bills we pass. Okay? Don't take, so oversight is an output.
Chair, let me enumerate them.
Okay.
Yes, let me enumerate them. And evaluation as one of the budget outputs. We have patriotism services as one of the budget outputs. We have chancery, that's the medals and awards. Yes, chancery as one of the budget outputs. We have institutional coordination as one of the other budget outputs. We have support cabinet as one of the other budget outputs. We have policy development and capacity building as one of the other budget outputs. We have financial management as one of the other budget outputs. We have manifesto as one of the other budget outputs. We have the National Leadership Institute, Chankwanzi, as one of the other budget outputs. We have security mobilization. It's a cost center.
You can tell us how that one becomes an
It's a
output
cost
now.
center.
Chair, the member is just giving us the cost centers now.
Now, Chair, that's why I said we needed to define what a budget output is. When you talk of legislation, they told that all outputs were implemented apart from one, construction. Now, a question arises. If construction is a budget output and facility management is a budget output where construction falls, so which of those is an output? That's why I wanted to, appreciate the budget output area and the budget output. Those two confuse.
You see, you told the Chancellor what? Because under patriotism service and those other things. Now for you to go for an activity and you want to put it an output. Eh?
Now,
you see, that's why, Sadat, I can ask the auditor here.
Yes.
They have the output for which you have for your ministry. They are here.
Chair, the Prime shouldn't take us for granted. Tell us how Chancellor is an output.
Chair, the issue of meadows is where we are talking of management of investor ceremonies in this country, and it's different from patriotism. When it comes to management of investor ceremonies, one of the activities is the award of medals to the Ugandans who have excelled beyond the normal duties. Nominations are made, research is carried out.
Can you differentiate between a cost center and an output? Because now you are confusing us. We are seated and we are quiet, but we cannot really allow you to mislead us.
Thank you very much. That's what I was talking about. And that's what I was defining at the beginning, that it's important for us to appreciate the differences between a cost center and an output. Okay? An output, we are talking about a deliverable. For example, I can say we have constructed an RD's office in Bujiri. That's an output.
No.
The office is available. Then the other is a budget output or a cost center. What we are talking about, budget output area.
What about activities?
That's an activity.
Now, an activity now, when you talk of activity, what do you take to have this construction in place? Those are the activities.
Honorable Chair, I think we have taken enough of him. Okay? And when you go back, kindly read about the difference between a cost center and an output. Then also learn that an output is a nexus of activities. And the Chair would move that we concentrate on the issues. And I don't think that, now, if you can tell us that Nali is an output, okay? Surely. No. Sir, you went to class with others, and they are just keenly listening. And by the way, you are on record for your information. Haj, you know you are fasting, and some of us had really decided to, we didn't want. But if the chair so aroused, we can take on your visas, really. If you tell us that that is an output, we forgive you.
So, by look of things, by the way, it seems unless for outputs, because those are the ones quantifiable, and if I were to go through your audit reports, you seem not to have more than 4 outputs. But that's for another day. We cannot burn our fingers on that, because we are not a sector committee to go into your activities and outputs. Because outputs would inform us the total number of activities you have. And even the activities are mentioned here. But that's for another day.
I think I don't know why, do you have the financials there? On page 33?
This is what, we are on 1.4? Yes. This is what you are supposed to answer. The auditor says total of 34 activities worth 47 billion. 5 billions were partially implemented. Out of the 20 activities, the entity fully implemented 16 activities. 3 activities were partial. 11 one activity was active, remained unimplemented. No output was not implemented at all. The accounting officer explained, non-implementation planned activity implies that the expected services to the beneficiaries community were not attained. For example, the entity did not renovate Mukono RDC's office despite having received the required funds. The accounting officer explained that this was due to insufficient funds, and the procurement for the renovation of the office of RDC was not initiated. Now, in the other paragraph, it says you received the funds for renovation. That's why, when you look through this, it implies that you could have caused a loss or diverted money that was meant to do this activity. These were fully funded and quantified.
Were implemented. And he names that there are 4 outputs. And he says no output was not implemented at all. So it leads me to think that there are only 4 outputs in the total. But now when you go down here in terms of finances, we are quantifying only 47 billion out of the so many 224 billion. So where is the other money that has no, because all outputs must the total amount budgeted for and maybe spent should correlate with the amount of the work done in terms of outputs, and then you have the total amount that has been spent. So it would, I'm sure I heard you understanding my question. It would imply that your budget is around 47 billion, and yet it is much more.
Yeah.
So what did the other amount of money do? Where is it? That's point number 1, Chair. Point number 2, to me, I think the way the accounting officer and his team are answering to the audit queries is very casual. When you say the accounting office, when you say there are insufficient funds, and yet when you go to your financial statements, you even have a surplus of 17 billion. So what does that, where does it leave us, the people who are using your financial statements and your reports? What should we think? Thank you, Chair.
I have a position, sir. Honorable Chair and honorable members, we thank you for the wisdom-filled observation. And as the accounting officer reported at the start, we had a total of 189.6 billion as unclassified, but yes, as unclassified. And that talks to the rest of the other outputs, which are not represented in 1.3b. And in page 1.3, section 1.3, page 4. Honorable Chair, with due respect, we could not also go back to the auditors to query them why they did not put 189b here, because the choice of scope and sample rests with them. But Honorable Chair, also to quickly answer to the issue of the insufficiency of the budget at the time, when we first got the bills of quantities for renovation of Mukono at the planning stage, they were in the range of 76 million shillings only. And that's what the planning team captured. But before we go to do these works, we usually also ask Ministry of Works to reassess the bills as given by the district engineers. And when they went back, they found out that the nature of works, or the scope was much wider and was in the region of 400 million. So what happened is that, because also got concerned, we asked the engineers and said, why is this so? They said, renovation in itself has its complexities. You may see a crack here and take it lightly, only to find that it is much deeper. So what happened is that the accounting officer looked at another candidate as we were responding, and the money was used to renovate our offices in Zimbabwe, and also construction of a pit latrine for our officer, field officer in Kaberamaido, who had this challenge. So the resource, as planned initially, only suffered a change of location of the output, but the output itself was delivered to.
Have you ever heard of what we call a mischarge? Where you are, the waters you want are very tricky.
It is not a mischarge, Honorable Chair, because it was planned for under facilities management, development budget, construction item. Yes, construction budget item, and wherein we have a sub-item of renovations. It is only the locality of the output that changes, but the deliverable remains, Honorable Chair.
Was it activity costed?
Yes, it was.
Specifically?
Yes, it was.
And you moved money from that activity to put to another activity?
We did not
move. No, go slow. You moved money from one activity to another activity?
No.
Which had been appropriated by Parliament?
The activity is renovation, Honorable Chair.
Uh-huh.
It is only the locality that changed from Mukono to Zimbabwe. But the activity in itself is a renovation.
Did you cost in the budget, did you capture the renovation of Mukono and cost
initially,
it? And cost it?
Initially,
in the budget?
Yes, Honorable
And it was appropriated?
Yes, on the basis of the bills
for
of quantities. Yes, on the bills of quantities.
And you moved
given
it?
by the district engineer.
And you moved it?
Yes.
To Zimbabwe?
That is a mischarge.
You know, budgets are costed activities.
Yes.
The total sum of it. And what is a mischarge?
Honorable Chair, I understand the mischarge as you have planned for money under travel abroad, and you charge an item for travel inland, and those are not.
Even this one, Mukono and Zimbabwe.
No, the activity is renovation. The activity is renovation.
But even the other one is travel. Even the other one is travel.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Chair, that is an item. But the question is, what did you have in your work plans?
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
That is the pertinent question now.
Yes,
yes.
We had the Mukono of the detailed examination of the nature and scope of work before we began the procurement process. We found out the scope had changed. Renovation, as the engineers explained, is much complex than a fresh construction.
Chair, I want to inquire.
Yes,
we want to know.
Chair, I withdraw my area guidance. Because did you say you withdrew from renovation to construction?
No. Renovation.
Renovation and?
Renovation, it is only the locality. Mukono to Zimbabwe.
Why are you saying that later you established that renovation is more expensive than what?
No, we are giving a background, Honorable Chair, and saying that when we engaged the engineers in the Ministry of Works, why the initial assessment of 76 million was rising to say about 400 million. They explained that renovation in itself is much more complex than a greenfield construction, where you have your...
The Vice and...
Honorable Chair, time of planning and budgeting was specific on what it wanted. Because during your procurement plan, you specify that we would like to renovate such and such a structure in this place. It cannot be flat renovation. You can have those many renovations, but specified. Now, we are interested in knowing that kind of engineer that does a costing of renovation of 76 million. Then another engineer comes in to cost the same activity at 400 million. Chair would like to have those details, because this is where procurement becomes a problem. All engineers become a problem. And that brings us back to the costing of these activities at the time of planning. Because this means from the word go, you were misled. So we want to know this type of engineer that has denied Ugandans the service. Because the people of Mukono would have loved to have their project than taking it to Zimbabwe. So we want to know the engineer who did this mistake. Because it's a very grave mistake, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Namoga has just submitted. It is about planning. The Undersecretary indicated to us that they always consult Ministry of Works whenever they have such construction works. At what level do you consult Ministry of Works? Is it after funds have been allocated to an activity that you go ahead and consult Ministry of Works, or it is supposed to be the other way around? Because you indicated that you had already set the 76 million for renovation of Mukono, RDC's office. Then, thereafter, you brought in Ministry of Works after the funds had already been secured, because you indicate to us here that the entity was not renovated despite having gotten all the funds that were required. All the funds that were required. What did you base on to require those funds? And then later on you bring in Ministry of Works. So I think your planning also lacks. Yet we know with budgeting, planning has to be accurate for us to have the best output. And lastly, how much money did you use to renovate the Zimbabwe offices that you said you did? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I also wanted to ask the Undersecretary a similar question. If renovating Mukono was more than 76 million, what type of structure is in Zimbabwe that needed less than 76 million? Because what I know is most RDC structures are uniform. They use almost the same amount of money in terms of renovation or construction. How come that you had to transfer that money to another district? That means Zimbabwe is less undermined than Mukono RDC's office. Thank you.
Zimbabwe.
I said there were 4 outputs, 30 activities, and all the outputs were implemented. 4 activities remained. We have dealt on with the RDC's office in Mukono. What about the 3 that were partially implemented? Which are those ones? The 3 activities that were partially implemented. What are those ones, and how much was needed?
Okay, finally.
Yeah, it's just getting back. I don't want us to lose this point, which Honorable Ndiam 228 billion, what was utilized was 224. But we are dealing with 47. Where is the 117 billion, the difference?
Oh, of course, that question goes to our officer.
Yes.
We want them to tell
which
us.
we shall not indulge in this. It goes to our...
When the auditors are doing auditing,
yes,
they just sample. They don't pick the entire expenditure.
Haji, if this was sampling, then it was a bad sampling. Where you only pick 17, that would be good sampling, representative. Yeah. The sampling must be recent.
Chair, I want to say,
but with the figures,
that one is not ours.
But with the figures,
we couldn't tell the auditors that. Why don't you look at everything? The onus is the external audit.
What's on your inputs? We want to know the implementation of those.
Of course, the task we have is if we can turn this into our part. And we have had that discussion with the Office of the Auditor. Various accounts. We've had this, the percentage of what they sample. Someone sampled 11 billion out of something, out of 300, and brought a report to Parliament. We have noted that, and we are having a session soon with the Auditor General. This is a cross-cutting issue.
But you see, the auditors will bear me witness this. When you are doing auditing, it's different from there where you do sampling. When you do auditing...
Then partially implemented activities. They have not told us that they sampled, but they are saying partially implemented activities, and a total 35.57 billion. And they have told us, because it is now asked to infer what they are saying, that there is no output that was not implemented. Everything was implemented. So this could be pointing to a bigger problem, Chair, of if all the activities, if all the outputs were partially and fully implemented, and they totaled 47 billion, what, because Chair, I'm a bit confused.
We are lost.
Where is the other 170 billion? Because if they were unimplemented activities or more partially implemented outputs, then we would, yes, Choma.
If you take the information, thank you. He has given me outputs are the ones which were singled out and which were captured in the audit sample of what they audited, depending on their risk assessment and the like. And the rest, they did not audit them. Okay? Okay, that one is, that one, Honorable Senior Okupa, that one is their response, which they should do, it is their assertion which they should actually defend. But I was just giving information that the four outposts being captured here are the ones which were audited, which were captured by the auditors in their sample size. Okay? Their audit sample, that's what they captured, and that's what they concentrated on. But there are other outputs which they did not audit. But they are here. I think the auditor who audited this is here.
And
okay?
Additionally, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Oh, I don't know whether Honorable Bishop has given you.
But I think, take it from there. You know, we've had this discussion with the auditors, and really we found issues.
Let me take it to Parliament, you will explain. That's what he's saying.
No, you see the fact that he understood it and wanted you to explain at this level points to a picture that there's a possibility that we lost money. And wanted Parliament, there's a high possibility, he doubted your explanation, he thought maybe if he calls this to be rough, and said those with the political powers above should be able to call this a loss.
Mr. Chairman, I want to draw that in 15 of PFMA on the policy statement.
Completeness.
The policy statement, you talk about the 15C and D. It talks about annual procurement plans for the vote, annual recruitment plan. And when you also go to move to section 15 of PFMA, commitment of approved budget, it is based on the annual cash flow plan and all those recruitments. So when you change a plan, you need to get authority somewhere that the money was transferred, because initially the approval was done for Mukono, but you've changed it to Sembabule. There must be an authorization somewhere. And then the sanctions are there. Haji accounting officer on the 7980 on the same PFM. So in the future, when you do such, you need to get
Don't say in the future. We are required under the law to pronounce ourselves on this.
Yes, I'm bringing that attention, and the sanctions are there. You can read 79 and 80 on the PFM. The 164.
Let me be honest to you. No accounting officer has been able to defend this implementation output. And we are now finding it as one of the avenues where we are losing a lot of money. And like others, you don't seem to have an acceptable, plausible explanation. I only beg that we proceed. As we've gone through them, we have rolled over. Here the auditor tells you this activity was fully funded and money spent. So you cannot say you've rolled it over to the budget of the next year and you say that's an explanation why you should not account for this money. You roll over the money.
But Honorable Chair, the money went to Sembabule and Kavera Maido.
No, the other, because it's not even about Sembabule. Sembabule is just an example. Because all other activities, we are just giving you those explanations you've been used to giving. This time, they don't fly. You see, the question is, we give you money for a wedding. Let's make it simple. We give you money for a wedding, 100%. Then you spend it and say, next year, I will graduate, and then you shall have that party. And then you say the budget for the party will be the one you use. It's neither here nor there. Actually, accounting officers have been giving that as a standard response to auditors. We are going to roll it over. The question is, justify for the money that was spent under review.
And Mr. Chairman,
otherwise, let me even explain to them. Otherwise, the money that was not spent, if it was not spent, it should have been equal to the money that was unspent and swept. But in this case, money was spent and utilized.
And Mr. Chairman, there is no way you can roll over because Section 17 talks about expiry of appropriation.
Appropriation. What did you roll?
When the appropriation has expired.
No, the
all funds have been swept back.
Honorable Chair, we take note of your guidance, but it is the work plan that was rolled over.
My brother, don't stretch us to that further. This is a fairly reasonable. If I went into the credentials of some of the accountants here, some of them are former lecturers of accounting. So don't really take us into where we think we don't know. And former auditors for URA, for very reputable organization. This committee, by the way, has more capacity than your side in terms of accounting. That one I can assure. I can take you just through the CV of the brains here. You will get shocked of the capacity we have. That's why we do better than the auditors in some cases. I'm not scaring you. I only want you to be humble.
Chair, on that note, I wanted to bring to your attention something.
Chair, they should know
because
that we are seen as
on the financial statements,
Chair,
on the financial statements, Chair, there is a surplus. Don't take that as a simple matter. There is a surplus because under normal circumstances, a minister shouldn't have a surplus. All the money that you have not used, it goes back to the consolidated
account. Don't take them to finances because where you are going to get with the capacity here, if we take you to your financials, you will not survive CID. We've looked at them. Let's go there briefly. Let us sample you on your finances. Honorable Choma, just give you a sample of one or two, and you know that we are treating you in Ramadan.
8. Your comments. I think that is paragraph 1, where you've made narrations, then you have said accordingly, revenue has been recognized at the time of receipt and not when earned. Likewise, expenditures were recognized at the time they were incurred. Is that right? Because you see, the first statement, you are recognizing the cash accounting. Okay? But where you said likewise, it means actually what you are adding is also cash accounting. But what you stated after that is accrual. So I want to find out whether that assertion is right. If it is not right, you consider and we proceed.
I want to sample him on another one. So that we want to tell you that if we give you overdose, you're a candidate to CID.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members, through my accounting officers. We are now government, as you are aware, we have been operating modified cash accounting. We are now moving towards the modified accrual accounting, but we are not yet there.
About your statement.
I agree with you. You read this. You read what I read.
Yeah.
Where you said likewise. Okay. The first sentence is cash. The second one is accrual. I agree with you. Modified the accrual would be okay. But where you said likewise. Okay? Because when you said likewise, then you would have said, if you wanted the likewise to stand, you would have said, let me help you. You can read there. Likewise, expenditures were recognized at the time.
They were incurred.
Were not recognized at the time they were incurred, but were spent or spent on. That is when it would have matched with your likewise.
Is the problem English?
Actually, there perhaps you would have said, however. Okay, so that we know it is modified and we proceed.
But also,
by the way, this is now English. It's
information
not
is
before.
if you are to treat transactions in a certain way, you cannot treat revenue in its own way using a certain basis, and then you treat expenditure in another way. You have to be consistent.
Aren't they hiding in modified?
So Honorable,
and Chair, if you are out, then we could go ahead in their sessions. Kindly just help me to understand. You are page 8. These are your sessions. The prepayments, okay? I can even read it for you verbatim. Prepayments, stock receivables. The Office of the President did not have any prepayments. The Office of the President and the Office of the Prime Minister share the water and electricity meters, which had prepaid balances of 507 million, just to round off, and 419 respectively, paid by the Office of the Prime Minister. You just tell us how that one comes and where you have put it in your disclosures. Because I tried really to look at them, I have failed to get kind assistance.
Thank you.
Can I go for another one? Yes.
In addition to that, Chair, when you go on page 8 on statement of financial performance, the minister says the statement of financial performance had an excess of revenue over expenditure for the year, amounting to 17.189 billion. And this is made up of, number one, 11,489,000,000 being the arrears paid. These arrears, when you go to appropriation statement, Chair, on page 13, these areas were budgeted for in the statement of appropriation, but they are saying it is a surplus. It is a surplus, yet it was paid, and they are saying they paid it because here on actual performance, this 11.489 is there. So how does it become a surplus? When they budgeted for it, it was released to them, and they paid it. That's number one, Chair. Number two, when you continue, they say there was a prepayment consumed of 460 million, and also 1.5 billion being the areas incurred for the period. These areas, Chair, 1.5. When you go to statement of performance on page 9, on goods and services, services consumed included this 1.5 billion. That's why on page 13, the goods and services are 77.12, but here on the statement of performance, it is 79. That means that 1.5 is already included. So how does it become an area in the financial statements in their presentation here? That is just a few of them.
And the 17 billion?
And the supplement on those